What's up guys, Farhan here. Welcome back to another automotive review, and this is Royal Enfield's newest bike for 2022. This is the Classic 350, the Classic Reborn. Huge thanks to Royal Enfield Singapore for loaning me this bike for the review. Alright guys, so I'm actually at the Royal Enfield Singapore dealership and I've just returned the Classic 500. So now we're gonna test ride the Classic 350. It's my first time riding it. Starting a bike, pretty straightforward. Uses a key, twist the ignition, and yeah, the starter is together with the kill switch. Ooh. And right off the bat the vibrations, right, is significantly reduced over the 500. The 350, as I said before in the 500 review, it shares the same engine, the same chassis, and numerous components with the Meteor 350 right here. So yep, let's get started. Riding this bike out for the first time, I feel that the handling is slightly better than the 500. It's slightly more nimble, and the gear ratio is also slightly different. This is a breeze to change gears on, while the 500 is like a bit cumbersome. But there's still no gear indicator on this. There's just the small LCD display only displays the time and the fuel. You can change to the odometer, trip meter, trip to, and time. Yeah, and supposedly all of the Royal Enfield Classic 350 is supposed to come with a triple navigation, but due to the chip shortages, only the higher trim of the Classic 350 has the triple navigation. You gotta check with a local Royal Enfield dealer. This is really awesome bike to ride on. The engine feels similar to the Meteor 350, even the sound also. For the handling, the Meteor 350 is slightly better. For the Classic, you need to get a bit of used to. This is due to the shorter handlebar and also the different front fork setup with the compared to the Meteor. Whew. Man, this is a huge improvement over the Classic 500. Well, really a pleasure to ride on. Sitting position wise is almost similar. So according to paper, it's a 13-litre fuel tank with a projected consumption of 32 kilometers per litre, with a total projected range of 432 kilometers, which is a lot, I must add. So Royal Enfield really did an awesome job with improving the fuel economy of the Classic 350. But I must say, looking at the dash right now and everything, it's really similar to the Classic 500 in terms of appearance. Whew. Acceleration is also improved compared to the 500. The riding experience on the 350 is much better. So it goes to show that it doesn't matter the cc of the bike, you see. What matters is how the bike generally is, you know. I don't mind if I can daily this bike. It's really an awesome experience to be riding it, you know. So let's turn right into Bartley Road East, which I did not make it. Dual channel ABS, front and rear disc, front and rear disc brakes also, stops on a dime. Pretty awesome braking. Oh, and look, it's not the generic signal indicators in which it just displays the left and right together as you're using. It actually separates the indicators. Look at this, look at this. Oh my god, I'm pretty impressed. This is what I want. And there's also hazards on here. There's also hazard light. Damn, now you're looking at a premium motorcycle. I'm not disappointed with the Classic 350 at all. This is a pretty awesome bike. The acceleration, the torque on this right off the bat, off the traffic light, it's pretty awesome. And as for the suspension, the shocks going over bumps, oh, you can actually feel the tiny little bumps on the road. Even these road imperfections, I can really feel them. Something they can improve upon is the suspension, but still manageable, still pretty okay for me. Unlike the Classic 500, the 350 doesn't struggle as you're going uphill. Really has the power and the acceleration, maintains speed very well. City riding, in my personal opinion, stop traffic, no issue with this bike. Very stable, but because there's no windshield in front of you, you can really feel the full force of the wind is in your face. And I just feel really confident with the Classic 350. Oh, the successor. Wow, Royal Enfield. I'm pretty impressed with the Classic. I was expecting it to be really like the Classic 500, you know, like it has some inherent riding feel or experience from the 500, but then this is leap and bounds, an awesome bike. It feels like the Meteor, but at the same time it doesn't feel like a Meteor, you know. It's slightly different. The handling on the Meteor is actually better than this. This, for the Classic, there's a bit of learning curve before you get used to it, but other than that, I think it corners pretty well. It leans and corners wherever you point the bike to. Okay, let's take a left turn right here. Whew. Man, acceleration, handling, whew, it's damn good on the Classic 350. You know, I could really picture myself riding down the highway, you know, with shades, a riding jacket on. It's pure riding pleasure. Now, compared to the Classic, it's like you need to be wary of certain things while riding the bike, right? This is just pure riding pleasure. You don't have to worry about anything. You're just enjoying the ride in front of you. There's really nothing to it lah. It takes away the troubles of riding a motorcycle. It's not that cumbersome to handle. If somebody is tailgating me, or if I'm in a sticky situation, I can just accelerate the bike and it will definitely go. No issue with that. Wow, it has a real nice sound to it when you are accelerating, you know. When you're aggressive with it, there's a nice sounding growl to it, which I love. It's also the same in the Meteor. You know, comparing the Meteor to the Classic, I would prefer the Classic. It has a much more refined and slimmer design profile. The Classic is a bit more bulgy and wide, but this is much more nicer. And comparing the Classic 500 to the 350, it's definitely much more refined. It's a huge improvement over the 500. Definitely bringing it into the current standards of 2020 era's bikes, especially for a retro classic, like the Classic 350. It has just enough riding technology. I mean, for a retro bike, you definitely need some form of riding technology, even though the bike is meant to be mechanically Spartan in nature. But in today's era, we definitely need the relevant riding tech to stay relevant.
The Royal Enfield Classic 350 continues the Classic heritage, replacing the 500cc variant, updated to comply with international emission standards. The 350cc engine is shared with the Meteor 350. The Classic 350 also received a fresh and refined outlook, but retained the general shape of its predecessor. Known as the J series, the powerhouse of the Classic 350 is a 349cc air-cooled single-cylinder 4-stroke with electronic fuel injection and a 5-speed manual transmission. So let's start off with the riding posture.
have to say that the new Classic 350 is pretty much very comfortable, even more comfortable than the Classic 500, because the handlebar is slightly shorter and suitable for people of my height. Very much sitting upright, no back issues at all. Very much sitting like a chair. I think it's almost similar to the Meteor 350, but it's very comfortable sitting position. And as with the Classic 500, I really appreciate that Royal Enfield included a grip for you to put the bike on the main stand. So you guys can see, very easy. So let's talk about the ride height. It's 80.5 centimeters. I'm 165. Very much okay for me, tiptoeing slightly, though it's slightly higher than the Classic 500 because of its slimmer battery box, right? It's actually somewhat similar lah, and I'm not sitting that wide unlike the Classic 500. So let's talk about the general design of the Classic 350. Very much almost similar to its predecessor, the Classic 500, but personally I feel that the 350 is more cleaned up as opposed to the 500, and it's more rounded off also. The 500, as you can see, there's some very boxy lines on it, especially the battery box, and there's some wires protruding out. This, however, is cleaned up significantly. It's less cluttered, I feel, slightly thinner profile, more cleaner, refined, and updated for the 21st century. So let's talk about the gauge cluster and handlebar controls. The gauge cluster is very much a modern interpretation of the Classic 500. It's actually a combination of analog and a tiny LCD display similar to the Meteor 350, the Continental and the Interceptor. The small LCD screen is for the odometer, trip meter and fuel gauge, and there's also a button on the handlebar controls in which you can toggle between the display of the odometer, the trip meter and time. And as you can see, there's also a logo, a huge logo of the Royal Enfield Classic 350. Now this is actually supposed to be where the triple navigation goes for the Classic. Royal Enfield actually wanted all of the Classic 350s to have the triple navigation. However, because of chip shortages, they're unable to put it in all the models, so only the high-end trim of the Classic 350 has it. This signal variation, however, sadly doesn't have it, and it's replaced by a very nice logo that says Royal Enfield Classic 350. Other than that, I think the design of the cockpit is very much retained from the 500 to the 350 and really transitions well into this modern interpretation. And finally, Royal Enfield did what I love, is like they separated the signal indicators. It's like when you turn on the left indicator, only the left indicator on the gauge cluster is flashing, and when you're using the right indicator, only the right indicator on the gauge cluster is flashing. So they did not use a generic indicator light on the gauge cluster, in which I'm very impressed. This is what quality is all about. The handlebar controls is very much similar to the Meteor 350. There's also hazard light actually on the right over here, the kill switch and the starter button, and also the high beam, low beam, and the horn over here, and yeah, the signals is over here too. And additionally, the fuel cap is a lockable one. Unlike the Classic 500, the Classic 500 doesn't feature locking mechanism. Its successor, the 350, has a lock on it. You need to get the aftermarket tank cap. As you can see, the Classic 350 removes a lot of the elements that the Classic 500 has, such as this. I think this one doesn't come with the spring saddle seat. It doesn't feature a spring here. And the battery box is thinner and rounded off as opposed to the giant square one on the Classic 500. Also, the chain is on the left side, while the Classic 500 is on the right together with exhaust. Other trims, with the exception of this one, actually retains the tank pad over here. However, this one, because they want to make space for this military graphics, right, they did not retain it on this particular variation. I have to say that the seat is really soft, very comfortable, and very much sunk inside the seat. It's a very nice seat. I love it so much. It's like my butt is really sunk inside. It's like I'm sitting on a memory foam like that. And yeah, I really appreciate there's a grip here, for your pillion, to grip this thing and also lift up the bike with ease to the main stand. And also, not to forget, all metal finishings on the classic 350 really shows the level of quality that the classic 350 has. I was about to say Meteor. And as you can see, there's also a hidden USB port over here for you to charge your electronics on the go. With the advent of mobile phones, I think all bikes should have a built-in USB from the factory. Surprisingly, despite being a 2020s era's bike, still features incandescent lights, signal lights, headlights, tail lights. It's all using bulb, it's not using LED. I think they should have used LED given that it's 2022. And yeah, as per usual, we're gonna do a horn check on the classic. Okay, I have to say that it's very much similar to the Meteor. It's really similar. So let's talk about the riding tech on the classic 350. Given that it's Royal Enfield and the nature of the classic 350, it's supposed to be simplistic in design and also riding tech. However, there is riding tech in it. Front and rear disc brakes with dual channel ABS. The engine is a fuel injected engine, and there's also triple navigation on the higher trim models. And additionally, there's also a USB port lah. Like I said earlier, there's actually a hidden USB port over here. Though the classic 350 is missing the kickstarter because it doesn't really need it. It actually features the foot and heel gear lever as with the Meteor 350. The reason why they're doing this is because in India, riders tend to ride with their flip-flops and change their heels frequently. So they've added this to the classic 350 as well. Given that the classic 350 is still new in the market, aftermarket parts already available from OEM manufacturer Royal Enfield themselves. Basically, they are prepared for consumers to customize their bikes, so they've provided a lot of accessories. You can inquire Royal Enfield Singapore for availability. Okay, so let's talk about this color. This color is pretty unique, for a motorcycle featuring army graphics. Officially, this name is called the Signals Desert Green. There's also a Desert Sand, and it's really meant to be military themed. It's really on purpose, and the reason for this is actually a throwback to Royal Enfield's heritage as a bike of choice for the Indian Army lah, which is why they've extensively featured like military style numbers. Even the badging is also different from the other classic 350 variations. It may look awkward at first in my personal opinion, but I slowly grew to love it. And additionally, there's also a 3-year warranty when you purchase this bike from Royal Enfield Singapore.
So there's actually 4 variants. This Signals variant with in the marsh grey, which I have right now, and Desert Sand color is 18,600. There's also the Halcon Black and Halcon Green at 18,300. The dark variant, which has the Gunmetal Grey in the Stealth Black, 18,800. And finally, the highest variant, which is the Chrome Red and Chrome Bronze, 19,100 for all models. So across the board for all variants, there's a 3-year unlimited mileage warranty.
Alright, heading into the highway. I feel much more confident now to probably go into lane 1 and overtake other vehicles or road hoggers. Yeah, it's definitely an improvement over the classic. The classic, I don't even dare to go into lane 1. It's really a nice cruise down the highway, I feel, and it does justice lah. Finally, a classic that is on par with other 2020 era's bikes. Huge improvement. As with all Royal Enfield bikes, I would say the classic 350 is for lovers of retro bikes and also Royal Enfield, and being mechanically spartan in nature, I think any mechanic is able to repair this bike, no issue with that. Coupled with its good handling, once you get through the small learning curve, decent performance, yeah, I think it's going to be a bestseller for Royal Enfield. Looking at the retro-inspired category of bikes, I think so far for the Royal Enfield lineup, the classic 350 is the best in my personal opinion. Even better than the Meteor 350, because the way this bike handles really has some character to the bike, I mean, I like the Meteor too. It has a nice handling and awesome handling, but this has more character to it lah, and also the history and heritage of the classic to back it up lah. So my personal opinion, hands down, the classic 350, oh, it's an awesome bike lah, my personal opinion. And yeah, more choices for our Class 2A riders, you know. For new Class 2A riders and you like retro bikes, you may consider the classic 350 as compared to numerous X-Maxes out there. Don't take my word for it, you can always come down to Royal Enfield and test out the Meteor or the classic 350 and compare it by yourself, you know, because different people may have a different opinion and feel of the bike, as all riders are built differently. And just try it out for yourself. Like, all I can say is a really awesome handling bike with the decent performance to match, and a modern Royal Enfield with the current technology, with the improvement and heritage to the classic. I'm gonna tell you, I can bet that this is gonna be a bestseller coming soon in developing markets, India, and maybe even Southeast Asia. So I had a chance to spend 3 days with the classic 350, and first impressions, I must say that it's a huge improvement over its predecessor, the classic 500. I'm pretty impressed with the bike. I really feel that I can daily this bike and maybe even bring it out on a tour someday. Given the riding tech on it and the general design, the handling, the riding experience, it pretty much brought the classic 500 to the 2020s era and the 21st century lah. I think for our Class 2A riders, it offers a simple, practical, functional, aesthetically pleasing, retro-inspired motorcycle. I think it's a huge contender, especially with the Honda CB350. Other retro-inspired offerings from like Yamaha, I think they have the XSR 300, I'm not sure. But that is actually a neo cafe racer style bike, but this is more to standard class of motorcycle. I think it's for riders who want a simple, no frills motorcycle, and with the aesthetics, with the reputation and the brand. The classic is a huge contender lah. Comparing this with the Meteor 350, the Meteor actually does better in riding performance. The acceleration is better, the pickup is better, the handling is better. This is a bit slightly sluggish, and the handling, there's a small learning curve, while on the Meteor, on the Gecko, like, it's very easy handling lah. Royal Enfield did a great job updating the classic lineup and bringing it into the 21st century. So yeah, once again, thank you to Royal Enfield Singapore for this awesome collaboration and providing me this bike to review. Really grateful for their support, and Abang Romi especially, and Izwan, I know he resigned already but really thankful for them to come up to us and, hey, we got the line of bikes for you to review, go ahead and try them out. And you can test this bike along with the whole Royal Enfield lineup at their showroom in Kampung Ubi. Abang Romi is always welcoming, and give it a go lah, test ride for yourself lah. Only then you will know what the Royal Enfield brand is actually capable lah. This may be my final Royal Enfield bike review because we've really tested out the whole range of Royal Enfield bikes, and pretty thankful lah, pretty thankful for their support and their friendship, and also their willingness to collaborate lah. Yeah, that's it for the vlog, and we will see you in the next one.